But we want safety, we want compassion, we want everything. What happened?
As President Trump calls for law and order in the streets in the wake of George Floyd's death, protesters and supporters are kept apart outside of the Dallas church where the president is meeting. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ken Molestina in for Doug Dunbar tonight. This is CBS 11 News at 6 o'clock and now streaming on CBS and Dallas-Fort Worth. We do have team coverage for you of the president's trip here to town, which includes fundraising for his re-election campaign as well as his message for police reform. Let's go ahead and start now with CBS 11's Steve Pickett. He is outside Gateway Church in Dallas with the president's roundtable talk and what all was said there. Steve?
Over 700 people invited to this conversation that focused on race and protest and politics and the concern about policing. Ironically, Ken, the leadership of law enforcement for Dallas, the police chief, the district attorney, the sheriff, not involved in this roundtable conversation. Most of the audience here today you would define essentially as supportive on the inside, not necessarily the case on the outside. One point of view on the outside.
We have to work together to confront bigotry and prejudice wherever they appear, but we'll make no progress and heal no wounds by falsely labeling tens of millions of decent Americans as racist or bigots.
And the president with his assessment on the inside. Mr. Trump's Dallas roundtable included cabinet members and invited panelists, and the issue getting most of the attention today, the nation's struggle over racial strife, police conduct, and the civil unrest on U.S. streets generated by both.
In recent days, there's been vigorous discussion about how to ensure fairness, equality, and justice for all of our people. Unfortunately, there are some trying to stoke division and to push an extreme agenda which we won't go for, that will produce only more poverty, more crime, more suffering.
The president says he has a 4-point plan to build safety and opportunity for minorities. Those in line to see the president today and surrounding neighbors at Gateway Church, even Trump opponents, all discussing the president's conversation.
I am thrilled that he's here to talk to the leaders in our community because we need peace and happiness and calm. We don't need the chaos.
What's most pressing on my mind is that we come up with with common sense solutions to what's going on. I don't feel like white shame is an answer, and I don't feel like black victimization is an answer to our problems.
Mr. Hunt and his wife, one of the invited guests to listen to this conversation again, primarily with cabinet members at the table and again some faith leaders from the Dallas-Fort Worth area here as well. But as you heard on the outside, and we've seen it for the past 2 weeks, clearly people on the streets not happy with the leadership of Mr. Trump regarding these matters, and they were on this corner to let the president hear their words as well. In Dallas, Steve Pickett, CBS 11 News.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Our political reporter, Jack Fink, was at the church. He was listening to the president's remarks. He joins us with the message the Trump administration is trying to get across in the wake of George Floyd's death and the calls for police reform. Jack?
Ken, President Trump has now left the Gateway Church on his way to his first in-person fundraiser since the COVID-19 pandemic began. It's just a few miles south of here. Reports say it's at the private home of billionaire energy executive Kelsey Warren. Now, inside is the roundtable. The president said he wants to see increased resources for police training, recruiting, and community engagement. He also repeated his opposition to efforts and proposals to defund police departments and said that there are some bad apples in police departments, quote, no matter where you go, but that most police officers do a great job. Along with the president, U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr, Surgeon General Dr. Jerome Adams, and HUD Secretary Ben Carson also spoke. So did various faith leaders and small business owners from North Texas, those who support the president. The president said people need to come together to make changes to policing in the country.
Americans are good and virtuous people. We have to work together to confront bigotry and prejudice wherever they appear, but we'll make no progress and heal no wounds by falsely labeling tens of millions of decent Americans as racist or bigots. We have to get everybody together.
Hundreds of the president's supporters, whether they were invited from the Trump campaign or from the church that they belong to here, attended there. They watched this roundtable discussion. Senior administration officials say executive actions will be coming in the next several days or weeks. House Democrats have proposed police reforms. Senate Republicans are working on their own legislation. As for tonight's fundraiser, the Republican National Committee said it expects to raise at least $10 million for the Trump re-election campaign and for the RNC. 25 couples attending. To get in, you have to have contributed more than $580,000. Live in Dallas, Jack Fink, CBS 11 News.
Yeah, pricey ticket there. Jack, thank you very much. Let's talk a little bit more about that fundraiser here for a minute if we can. We are just getting this video into our newsroom. Wanted to share that with you. Certainly a heavy presence of protesters as well as police and Secret Service in a North Dallas neighborhood where we're told the event is taking place at this hour. J.D. Miles is live at Dallas Love Field where the president will be taking off later this evening. J.D., he was basically just in town for 7 hours before he's wheels up again, headed back to Washington.
Yep. Ken, the president is in the middle of that 6.5-hour trip here to Dallas, and Air Force One, which brought him here, sits on the tarmac behind me at Love Field after getting a warm welcome from state leaders when the president arrived. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Attorney General Ken Paxton, and even Alabama State U.S. Senate candidate Tommy Tuberville were among those who greeted President Trump shortly before 3 p.m. The president waved a few times to a handful of others who were invited to see his arrival. We did find some spectators who tried to get a glimpse of Air Force One from inside one of Love Field's parking garages.
I think it's important that he's here. I hope that he uses his power and his voice for calm and peace and for dialogue, which we need more of.
Now, after that private fundraiser we've been talking about ends tonight, the president will return here and board Air Force One after a short but eventful stay in Dallas. Live at Love Field, J.D. Miles, CBS 11 News.